Hello, Dawn Moore at Allegiance Title Company. Today's video is the third tip in my series of 10 steps to help reduce litigation. My first tip is simply to remember who you represent. You owe a fiduciary duty to your client. The second tip was to maintain clear and reasonable expectations of your client throughout the transaction. The third tip, create a fail-safe tickler system, or calendar, if you will, to keep up with the deadlines in the contract. But be careful when you set your to-do list on your calendar that you understand that many of the deadlines in the contract are floating deadlines. They do not run from the effective date of the contract, but rather from receipt of certain information to your client. You must stay on top of when your client receives certain triggering documents so that you can help them follow the deadlines in the contract. Another piece of this calendaring is to make sure that you don't set too strict deadlines. Much of what is required under the contract is out of your control. For instance, loan application, loan approval, delivery of title commitment, and exception documents. When you set these deadlines too tight, such that your service provider is unable to meet them, it's not your service provider, i.e. the title company or the lender, that's in default, but rather your client. So set reasonable deadlines. Also, allow extra time when you have deadlines in your contract to meet those deadlines. Specifically on your contingent offers. When you have an offer contingent on the sale of another piece of property, you must understand the contingency under that sale of other piece of property. That contingency is not just closing on the house I'm selling, but rather that I have received the proceeds from that sale. It is inevitable that we have domino closings set for 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, where the seller will come in and sell their home and then run across town, because they're buying in another part of town, to close with another title company on their purchase late on a Friday afternoon. There is a likelihood that the proceeds from the sale will not be received by the buyer by the deadline required in the contingent offer. So set some time frames where you can reasonably meet your deadlines. And then third, please pay attention to your contractual notice provision under paragraph 21. Paragraph 21 says notices required under the contract are effective when mailed to, hand-delivered, sent by facsimile, or electronic transmission as follows. The converse of that statement says notices are not effective unless sent as follows. So pay attention to that contractual notice provision. Send notices on time to meet the deadlines as paragraph 21 specifies. So, tip number 3, create a fail-safe tickler system, keeping in mind that some of the deadlines are floating. Allow for reasonable deadlines so that your service providers can meet the deadlines required under the contract. It's your client that will be in default if the service provider does not meet those. Allow extra time for certain contingencies, for instance, sale of other property. Close on your sale early in the morning, close on your buy late in the day. And then finally, pay attention to your contractual notice provision and send your notices as required in paragraph 21. I hope this helps you as you go out and do your business this week. Allegiance Title is your resource for results. Thank you.